Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second day of 2025 International Forum on Taiwan Cultural Heritage. 非常欢迎各位贵宾呢，继续莅临我们第2天的2025台湾文化遗产国际论坛的大会哦。And we would like to begin day 2 with session 3, Sustainability and Resilience, Sustainable Management and Balanced Development of Railway Heritage。我们第2天的大会呢，首先是场次3哦，要聚焦的是永续以及韧性铁道遗产的永续管理以及刚柔并济。And now to open this session, ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in welcoming your moderator for the session, Deputy Director General Dai Zhang, Forestry and Nature Conservation Agency.Ministry of Agriculture to the stage， 让我们首先掌声欢迎我们场次的主持人，农业部林业及自然保育署张岱副署长为我们开场，掌声欢迎。
我们陈局长以及所有关心铁道文化遗产的所有的贵宾，大家早安。好，那很荣幸我有这个机会主持这个第3场次哈，我们永续与韧性铁道遗产的永续管理与刚柔并进哈。那我们今天会有3场精彩的演讲，首先会有我们阿里山林业铁路及文化资产管理处的王昭宝处长哈，他分享阿里山的森林铁路的一些事情。那再来我们会有瑞士雷蒂亚铁路亚洲区行销经理Patrick 他会分享他们这个雷蒂亚铁路的一些经营。那最后会有鸟总亮，就是日本大井川铁道的社长他会分享日本大井川铁道的一些韧性经营跟活化再生的一些挑战。那我想我们在文化资产保存，尤其是铁道这一块，大家知道铁路营运需要非常多的人力跟物力那所以这些有历史价值的铁道，它要延续而且要活化的一个永续经营，真的是面临非常多的挑战。那尤其我们近期我们面临气候变迁在整个全球的环境剧烈变化的状况之下。那森林铁路这些文化遗产。
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We apologize for the delay in the interpretation due to technical issues. We will now begin interpreting. Due to the collapse of tunnel number 42, the Alishan Railway service was suspended periodically for over 10 years. Now, with the full restoration of all the tunnels and stations along the railway line, the operation is in full swing. Today, we will have the opportunity to hear from our esteemed speaker, Mr. Wang, Chaopao Wang, Director of the Alishan Forest Railway and Cultural Heritage Office. He will be sharing his perspective in a presentation titled From Conservation to Sustainability, Alishan Forest Railway's Path of Resilience.
From Conservation to Sustainability, Alishan Forest Railway's Path of Resilience. 接下来呢，我们就有请到我们这个场次第1位主讲人，让我们掌声欢迎农业部林业及自然保育署阿里山林业铁路及文化资产管理处王昭宝处长。Please welcome 昭宝 Wang, Director of Alishan Forest Railway and Cultural Heritage Office, Forestry and Nature Conservation Agency, Ministry of Agriculture to the stage. 从保存到永续，阿里。
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I rarely wear suits, and some people tell me that I look like I am getting married today. I feel like as if I am getting married as well. Very excited. So what I'd like to share with you today is from preservation to sustainability, the resilience and persistence of the Alishan Forest Railway. I would like to talk about sustainability and also preservation and how we have been able to restore the Alishan Forest Railway. My talk will be divided into 5 parts. I'll talk about the history of Alishan Forest Railway, the background, and also some of the transitions, and also talk about the importance of the Alishan Forest Railway as a cultural landmark. The third part is I will talk about the important landscapes along the Alishan Forest Railway. I will give you 3 examples. There are actually 20 stations along the railway, and I will select 3 of them to share with you about. And last is my conclusion. For the Alishan Forest Railway, we were established in 1912. The reason for this railway, I'm sure you're all aware of, that was for the lumber, the transport of lumber on Alishan. And the Japanese discovered that Alishan had rich hinoki resources. They said that this is a limitless forest, and therefore this railway was built in 1912. And of course, there are many transitions along the way. And in the past 20 years, actually, we outsourced the railway to a private company in 2008. However, in 2009, we terminated the contract because there was a huge typhoon, and the private company was not able to restore the railway. And the typhoon was called a Morakot, and it caused more than 400 places of collapse along the railway. So in 2010, the contract with the company was terminated, and the railway was taken back to be self-operated. In 2013, the Taiwan Railway Corporation was asked to assist in the corporation. And in 2018, the operation of the Alishan Forest Railway was transferred back, and the Alishan Forest Railway and Cultural Heritage Office was established to manage the railway. So the reason for the establishment of our office is to fully manage the railway. In 2019, we are very grateful to the Ministry of Culture for announcing that the Alishan Forest and Railway and Cultural Landscape is Taiwan's first national cultural landmark. So that was a milestone for us as well. In 2023, our tunnel, the newest tunnel, 42, was completed. And in 2024, the entire Alishan Forest Railway resumed operation. And at the time, President Lai also traveled in person to Alishan to celebrate such an event. So the entire nation has its eyes on Alishan Forest Railway. So these are the 20 stations along the railway, and each station has its own story. So our first stop is Jiayi Station. The last one is Alishan. So actually this railway is like an umbilical cord in a way that sending the resources in the mountain to below. And of course, that has made Jiayi City and all the stations along the way, because of the railway, they were able to obtain agricultural products, and we were able to see the development of different settlements. For the Alishan Forest Railway, as we've mentioned, in 2018, it was designated as an important landmark, and it's actually like a living history book. So why was it designated as an important landmark or landscape? Because along the railway, there is rich natural landscape, including you see rural areas, you see fields, you see streams, bridges. And also we see there is bamboo forest and also broadleaf forest and coniferous forests and up until the mountains. So you can also see highland views, and that the Ta Mountain is also a symbol of the Zhou tribe culture. And then the history of forestry is also showcased along the railway. As you can see, hinoki on Alishan is transferred using the railway. And we also have a powerhouse in Jiayi City. So you can see that there's the tool factory and there's the hinoki village. And so the hinoki village today used to serve as a dormitory for early forestry workers. And right now, it is a very well-known tourism landmark for Jiayi City. And you can also see there are some equipments from Zhaoping Station and Zhushan Station. The railway is also special because every station has its own design. At Zhuqi Station, and also there is a U-turn, and also there is the spiral path and also the zigzag. It has preserved the highland railway engineering techniques, and also the steam locomotives is a part of the Alishan Forest Railway. And the Shay steam locomotive is one of the few still operating locomotives in the world. So this is how we've preserved some of the technology. And aside from our workers, there are several stations such as Lumachan and also Shizilu Station. At these stations, or each station has its own highlights, and I will point out a few for you. My staff was quite considerate. They brought together, or they put together a video so we can have an overview of the Alishan Forest Railway. And there is music in the video as well. The music was composed by a local musician in Jiayi, and also an artist. Along with the musician, they made this video, and the music was specifically composed for the video. And it will be launched, or it will be performed in Jiayi City on the 27th, and the tickets are all sold out, to my knowledge.
各位如果要听
If you like to listen to the if you like to watch the entire video, you can also join us in Jiayi City. And we heard from the Deputy Director General that the Alishan Forest Railway is not just managed by our office, we're also connecting to the world. So we've been sister railways with 5 different countries, including railways in Japan, Slovakia, Switzerland, India, and United Kingdom. And Mr. Michael Riley from the UK is also here. And Patrick from Switzerland is here too. And after the railway started operations last year, it actually garnered the attention of railways around the world. And so CNN and BBC and Reuters reported on our railway, introducing the Alishan Forest Railway to the world. At the beginning of this year, New York Times reported on the Alishan Forest Railway and how you can take the train into the lush forests, and called it one of the top 52 must-visit sites around the world, and that was a great honor for us.
部长也
Yesterday, the minister himself also mentioned that cultural heritage sites in Taiwan have faced a diverse range of challenges over the years. An important reason is the natural disasters and the difficulty in restoring and replacing the damaged portions of the cultural heritage in the post-disaster period, and the Alishan Railway is no exception. The challenges for the railway have not just been transporting people and goods, but also involved a struggle with nature. Now I want to talk about Zhushan Station, one of the most important stations along the railway. This picture was not taken at night. This picture shows you how busy this station is at the crack of dawn, or rather before the crack of dawn. Passengers are making their way onto the train to ride all the way to the top of the mountain to view the sunrise, the famous Alishan sunrise in a sea of clouds. And this station has, it's been 40 years since its last renovation. It's quite wet and damp and moist at 4 o'clock in the morning when passengers get onto the train. So readaptation and renovation of the station has been deemed necessary to make it safer for passengers. And there are many other challenges: the climate, ecological preservation, then engineering aspect, labor shortages, treacherous mountain roads, and transportation difficulties. There's also a need to incorporate more indigenous culture into the entire railway management and maintenance in order to preserve the character of the old site while integrating elements of the Zhou indigenous culture. This is the mountain with the highest elevation in Taiwan at an elevation of 2,451 meters above sea. All the beams and the structures are made from locally sourced and locally grown woods. However, the structure itself is stainless steel. We collect rainwater from the roof to be used in the bathrooms and for the irrigation of the landscape. When restoring the station, we made great efforts not to affect the ecological environment around it. It has now become a new tourist attraction in the area. You could see that the floor design and the entire interior design also incorporates the image of the totem from the Tao indigenous culture. The curve of the original railway have been preserved, and the platform had been built along this curve. So for those of you who have the opportunity to get up early in the morning to ride the famous Alishan train to the top of the mountain, would board their train at the station. And the second case I would like to talk about is the Lumachan station. This station is unique because it once bore witness to the rise and decline of the sugarcane and tobacco industry. Ever since the launch of the station, it has become a very important method for transporting the agricultural produce to the city. And after more roads were laid down, the main way of transportation had become vehicle or truck transportation. And this area faced very rapid decline. Instead of tearing down the station, we worked with the local community for the restoration and regeneration project. And now the station is being managed and run by the local community center, and namely the Lumachan Community Development Center. Now the center is working tirelessly to combine the sales of the local agricultural produce as well as the guided tours conducted by the local community members with the station's tour. So the center's director told me that by managing it in a way that mobilizes it and involves all the community members has created many employment opportunities. Now, young people are willing to return to the community of Lumachan so that they could return to their hometown and be united with their family. And the next project I would like to talk about is Tunnel 42. The devastation and subsequent natural disasters caused by Typhoon Marakat in 2009 severely damaged the railway infrastructure, resulting in the loss of roadbeds and tunnel collapse. And then the Duzhen Typhoon that came immediately after Typhoon Marakat further made it impossible to restore it. And due to the remote location of the site, we could only rely on railway transport to get the workers to the site and could not really use large machinery. At the same time, we must also consider the preservation of cultural heritage and ecological protection, making the repair project extremely challenging. So what ended up happening was that we had to remove the original railway tracks to make way for transporting the repair machinery. However, we were able to restore the railway and reinforce the tunnel, and now it's up and running. And I would like to show you that we also invited the tow artist to create a beautiful mural at the entrance of the tunnel. So as you could see in this photo, to the left we have the original entrance to the tunnel that is no longer or can no longer be used. And then on the right hand side is the new tunnel we have created after the restoration project completed. And then you could see the results of the participation of the Tao people. And I would also like to introduce to you this Sunli locomotive. And that it just arrived in our garage in August. We are testing it and to make sure that it's in good condition. And it and this steam locomotive to the right of it is 110 years apart. So we will be alternating between the two to use them in an alternate way to pull the passenger trains so that this operation of the line could be more sustainable. So that we're using the new locomotive and we're also using the steam locomotive to serve our passengers, and from preservation to sustainability, from resilience to perseverance. The Alishan Railway stands not only as a testament to the history of forestry, but also as our commitment to pass on a more sustainable forest railway to the next generation. Thank you.
The Alishan Forest Railway, we are going to the Alishan Railway in Switzerland and to talk about how to advance the Landwasser World Project and sustainable development through World Heritage Values. Please welcome your next keynote speakers, Mr. Patrick Misia, Marketing Manager for Asia, Alishan Railway, Switzerland. 接下来让我们掌声欢迎我们下一位主讲人，瑞士雷蒂亚铁路亚太区行销经理 Patrick 来跟我们分享如何以世界遗产为基础的兰德瓦瑟世界计划来推动永续发展。
Hello everyone, Dacia Hao, and good morning. My name is Patrick Meischer. I am the Market Manager Asia Pacific at Alishan Railway, and it is really a great honor to be here today, invited. Thank you very much to Mr. Chen, especially from the Ministry of Culture. Thank you also very much to the entire team of the Forestry and Nature Conservation Agency. And thank you also to the entire team of the Alishan Forest Railway and everybody who was involved setting up this meaningful event. To my presentation, maybe I firstly would like to say what a Chongwen Bu Nama Nama Hao Dacia Na Wo Ching Ni Men Rang Wo Yong Ingwen Che Shao Koima Hao Hao. Thank you. Today my talk is divided into two main topics. So firstly, I would just like to give you a general overview about our company, what the Alishan Railway is all about. And after that, I will really tell you a little bit more about the Alishan Railway UNESCO World Heritage. But let's start with a few facts about our company. So our company was founded in 1889. And basically, we are a transport company, a train company that operates many different kinds of trains. So we, for example, operate freight trains. So we transport goods to local supermarkets. We have also a section regarding car transport. Like our company operates in an area with a lot of mountains. So we have some mountain tunnels where we transport cars through in wintertime. So the cars do not have to pass on top of the mountain. We operate commuter trains to bring locals from A to B in our region. And then probably most well known, we are for our panoramic trains, the Bernina and the Glacier Express. You can see here the Switzerland map on the right-hand side. And you can see all these red lines, which is our route network. 385 kilometers of route network. We are located in the southeast of Switzerland, connecting Switzerland and Italy. And as mentioned before, this is an area with a lot of mountains, and therefore also very special about our route network. We had to build a lot of tunnels and a lot of bridges. So we have over 600 tunnels on our route network, and over 100 tunnels. Maybe one last interesting fact I would really like to share with you. We transport about 16 million passengers a year on our route network. And what I think is quite amazing, 2/3 of those passengers travel with a touristic purpose. So it is really, we are a tourist railway. But I think the best thing to just tell you or show you a little bit what our railway company and route network is all about, I would like to share a short video of the Bernina Express. Please enjoy. Okay, I know that some of you have already traveled on the Bernina Express, so I hope that this video did give you some nostalgic feelings about the train ride. And for those of you who have not been yet, I hope that you are now motivated to visit Switzerland and board our trains. You would be very, very welcome. Then a short history, a few important dates for our company. As mentioned, founded in 1889. Then the next very important date was in 1904, where one of our very special railway lines was constructed, the so-called Albula line from Thusis to St. Moritz. The so-called Albula line, which nowadays was enlisted to be a UNESCO World Heritage Site, followed by the Bernina line from St. Moritz to Tirano in Italy in 1910. Also nowadays enlisted as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Then also 1930 was the first run of the Glacier Express panoramic train. So that is really quite incredible. In about 5 years from now, we're going to actually celebrate already the 100-year anniversary of this first very well-known touristic train. Followed by the Bernina Express in 1973. And then as mentioned in 2008, these two railway lines from Thusis to St. Moritz, the Albula line, and the Bernina line from St. Moritz to Tirano got enlisted as UNESCO World Heritage. And this actually also brings me to the topic, the Russian Railway UNESCO World Heritage. I just answered the question, but what exactly is enlisted? It is really the railway lines. So in our case, the railway lines are UNESCO World Heritage. If I say the railway lines, what I mean is basically the infrastructure. So all the tunnels, all the viaducts, all the bridges, and also the railway stations along these lines. You can see here the map again, and you can see the railway lines marked in red. And then you can actually also see there are these dark blue zones and these light blue zones. Those are so-called puffer zones, which are basically landscapes that are not exactly listed as UNESCO World Heritage, but of course also very important to us. And if we change things in these zones, we really also follow suggested guidelines to make changes sustainable. Then I would just like to talk quickly about a few of the reasons for our inscription as a UNESCO World Heritage. And I think the key word here is uniqueness. So in our case, the uniqueness really lies within this infrastructure that we have built. The architecture and the engineering was really just outstanding. But not only the architecture and the engineering, as mentioned also, the landscape around these railway lines are just extremely beautiful. And if you think back that these train lines were built in the early 1900s, so over 120 years ago, it was really a big challenge to build these railway lines. And our company really also had to come up with very innovative solutions when it comes to mountain railway technology. Plus the fourth reasons, you have to imagine, as mentioned again in these early 1900s, it was the first time that the people living in this mountain or in this mountain area in the southeast of Switzerland, through the construction of the railway lines, they were connected to the bigger cities in Switzerland. So the building of these railway lines really also had big social and cultural impact. But I think the best thing is just to showcase you what I just said with a few pictures. You can see that our trains really similar to Alishan. We go high up into the mountains. Our highest point is actually at 2,000 meters above sea level. But 30% of our route network is really above 1,500 meters of sea level. So we are really a mountain railway. That then led to this outstanding engineering and architecture masterpieces. You can see over 600 bridges, over 100 tunnels. And maybe I would just like to share two of our most iconic landmarks. Here you can see the Landwasser Viaduct, a 65-meter high bridge built on 5 stone pillars. And what makes it special, of course, is that it enters directly from the viaduct into the tunnel. Or another very impressive construction is the Brusio Circular Viaduct, a 365-degree viaduct that goes around in an entire circle, very close to Italy, which actually was built this way to overcome the altitude in a very narrow valley called Poschiavo. Good. Now I would like to tell you a little bit how is the Rhaetian Railway UNESCO World Heritage organized. And the answer is that an association was founded. So on the top we have the Assembly of Delegates, overlooking the Executive Board, which is the strategic leadership. And the Executive Board is responsible for, or was responsible for, coming up with a management plan on how to best preserve and manage the UNESCO World Heritage. Maybe just here to mention, the Assembly of Delegates and the Executive Board consist out of many members, many delegates. So for example, Rhaetian Railway is of course one party. So our director of the Rhaetian Railway is also the director of the Executive Board. But we also have many people from governments of local provinces and towns that our railway lines pass through. Maybe important to mention here from Switzerland and Italy, because our railway line crosses the border. So also Italian representatives are represented. And then of course also other parties are involved, such as people from the Federal Office of Culture in Switzerland and so on. And then we have the business office, which is the operative leadership. The business office has to manage the management plan operatively. Also in charge of all the infrastructure projects. So for example, if we have to renovate something, a tunnel or a bridge, then the business office is in charge. And they are actually supported by a technical committee railway when it comes to infrastructure projects. So the technical committee railway consists out of experts when it comes to mountain railway engineering or for example monument preservation. And then there is also a technical committee, cultural landscape. On top of that, the business office also leads a little sales, marketing, and product development team. If we have a look a little bit deeper into the management plan, I would just like to share our vision with you. The vision is quite simple: to ensure the future viability of the Rhaetian Railway UNESCO World Heritage. And from that vision, we came up with 4 strategy pillars. And I would like to tell you a little bit more about each and every one of these pillars. So the first one is to ensure the sustainable development and preservation of the outstanding value. In our case, the outstanding value is really the infrastructure. So what we had to do first, we created an inventory. It's a big book with all the viaducts, all the bridges, all the tunnels, and also the railway stations which are protected along our route are listed there. You can see on the left-hand side a picture of one of our train stations, a little one called Preda. This inventory includes information regarding when was this railway station built, like what material was used to build it, for example, which kind of rock, which kind of wood, what belongs to that train station. And that is quite important when it comes to infrastructure projects, renovations, for example. As you can see here, when we renovated the Landwasser viaduct a few years ago, it is really important, because it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, that we keep the authentic look of the World Heritage. So for example, we have to use a specific kind of rock. We're not allowed to use concrete or change or do too much change. So this strategy pillar is really important for us, protecting and preserving the infrastructure. Then the second strategy pillar is branding and marketing. So we really also, of course, would like to showcase that if guests visit us, that they are traveling on a UNESCO World Heritage certified route. So you can see here different billboards that we have set up along the route. We are also branding bigger projects. You can see the lower picture here where we are branding an underpath of a railway station. Maybe just one thing I would like to mention here, that the official UNESCO World Heritage logos are not allowed to be used for marketing, as of course there is the sensitive topic of over-tourism, and the main goal for UNESCO is to preserve the World Heritage. But what we use to promote and market, we created our own association logo, Russian Railway UNESCO World Heritage Association logo that we use for marketing. Apart from marketing and branding, I would also mention that we have a little sales team. We do a lot of B2B sales at our company. So we have a market manager for Switzerland, we have a market manager for Germany, a market manager for Poland, market manager for Italy, a market manager for Europe, and I myself am the market manager for Asia. So a lot to do for me, as Asia is very, very big. However, I have some support. I lead a little team of 6 representatives located in different places all around Asia. And here I just also brought you a little example from a Taiwanese travel agent that is also promoting our train lines. You can see that they also use UNESCO, of course, as a selling point. So it is also very important for us from that point of view. Maybe just a short side note, Taiwan is really one of our most important markets. Especially in Asia, it's our #1 market. And I think on our trains, Taiwan has about a 5% market share, which is really an incredible number if you think about the population. So very, very popular. The third strategy pillar in our management plan is sensitization. So how does sensitization differ from marketing? Basically, sensitization is all about education. So we really also want to not only market and use UNESCO as a selling point, but we really want to inform young and old about the values and the significance of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. And therefore, we do many, many things. For example, we operate an own railway museum. In the railway museum, there are exhibitions about UNESCO, about the history of our railway lines. And yeah, you can learn more about this topic. We also on the website have different games regarding UNESCO. We have an app where you can learn more about infrastructure projects, renovations, or even we already include the topic UNESCO into some children's books, so that already the very little ones learn about this very meaningful topic. And then actually this is already slowly the end of my presentation. Our fourth strategy pillar is sustainable product development. So for us, it is really important that the Russian railway does not become a museum railway, but that we keep on developing our products in a sustainable way. And here I would like to tell you a little bit about a project that we are working on at the moment. It's called the Landwasser World. So you can see here again on the picture, the Landwasser Viaduct, one of our most iconic landmarks, which for sure also was a reason why we got enlisted as UNESCO World Heritage Site. And what we are trying to do is we are trying to create an adventure world around this viaduct. So what we did is we created 5 different adventure worlds. A water adventure world, a forest adventure world, a culture adventure world, an agriculture adventure world, and a railway adventure world. And all of these adventure worlds really should pay attention to ecological, economical, and social factors. Maybe just quickly, I'll give you a few examples what we do. For example, the water and the forest adventure world. There we did build a lot of natural hiking trails that lead up to the viaduct or go around the viaduct, because we really wanted that the people who come and visit, that they can experience this iconic site from up close, but in an ecological way, just by foot. Also, we are, for example, building a forest zip line at the bottom of the viaduct. So when you zip through the forest, that you can actually really see the viaduct in the back. Also there again, very important that these projects and attractions are really embedded sustainably within the surrounding nature. We created a culture adventure world where, for example, there's actually a little town quite close to this Landwasser viaduct. It's called Filisur. And there we are cooperating with locals who offer guided city tours or town tours. So the locals, they will tell the guests who come and visit about the town, about the architecture of those houses, which are very special in that region, about their life and about the impact that these railway lines had for their community. There is an agriculture adventure world, because there are actually also quite a lot of farmers around this viaduct farming. So we cooperate also with them. They offer local farm tours. They operate farm shops where you can buy local goods, local products. So with this project, we really also try to benefit local communities living around this area. And then last but not least, and maybe most interesting, we are working on a railway adventure world. And at the very moment, this railway adventure world consists out of 3 new train experiences. Maybe just the reason why, at the very moment, over this bridge, only the Bernina Express, the Glacier Express, and the local commuter trains run over the bridge. But they go over the bridge within a few seconds, and then the guests are gone. So with these new 3 railway products, we really try to keep people longer at this iconic site and make them experience the viaduct in an even more exciting way. So we created a train experience with a historical train. Then we have a train experience called the Landwasser Express, or in short, choo-choo train. And then we also have a totally new launched product called the Viaduct Shuttle. Let me just tell you a little bit about all of them. So the historical train basically just is a train from the 1920s. There are different locomotives that pull this train, very often also a steam locomotive. I also myself already had the privilege to once shuffle the coal into the fire that this train is running. But this train, it really also operates around this viaduct area. And yeah, just by existing, of course, is already a testament for the 100-year-old railway history of our company. Then we operate this choo-choo train here. We thought it is a little bit boring that all the trains only pass on top of the viaduct. So we wanted to create, as mentioned, we wanted to create an adventure space. And this choo-choo train actually goes to the bottom of the Landwasser viaduct. So from there you then really have a fantastic angle when the trains pass on top. And how it works is, actually at this bottom of the Landwasser viaduct, we also installed a little restaurant. There are bathrooms there, and there is a QR code. So guests who take this choo-choo train, they can actually then really scan the QR code, and they will see, in 2 minutes the Glacier Express is coming, in 5 minutes the Bernina Express is coming. So just a very interesting train ride also. And then last but not least, this is our newest product, so to say. It is the so-called it is the Viaduct Shuttle. It was just launched this June, so just a few months ago. And this Viaduct Shuttle, so first of all, it also has an open scenic wagon. You can see here, you can lean out of the window and really experience this viaduct in a very exciting way. And how it works is, this shuttle only takes 3 minutes. It's just a 3-minute train ride. Very short, but it goes over the viaduct the entire day, just back and forth the whole time. So if you like, you can do it 30 times a day. Just go back and forth, depending how much you like it. And to make it even a little bit more interesting, this Viaduct Shuttle goes from this Filisur town, which I mentioned before. It goes over the bridge, and then it stops at the newly built viewing platform. So people can hop out at the viewing platform. They have to walk up about 200 meters. From there, let me see if this, from there they can then observe other trains passing on top of the viaduct. And once they had enough of trains, they can just hop on the next shuttle back again. Here just a few pictures again of the other adventure worlds. You can see some of the hiking trails, which also lead to viewing platforms all around the viaduct. You can see this famous architecture in the town of Filisur. You can see some of the farm animals that you can see in this region, farm shops, or our railway museum. And here I would just like to say again, we really try to pay attention to ecological, economical, and social factors, benefit local communities, but at the same time, make it an interesting place for tourists. And this is actually the end of my presentation. I would just like to say that our #1 priority is really to protect and preserve our world heritage, but we believe to do so best is by sustainable utilization. And I would like to actually stop with this amazing picture here. I'm not sure who of you have seen this picture before. It was the Guinness Book World Record that our company managed to achieve a few years ago, where we got awarded to have the longest passenger train in the world. So we did attach around 100 train wagons in a row. This was just a one-time event. This is not running the whole time, but the train that you see here, it is one train. There were a lot of challenges that at the beginning we did not think we can handle, but together with many, many people, we managed to make this a success story. And this I would really just like to mention, that I hope that we all can also cooperate together and make great things happen. Thank you very much. 非常感谢你们的关注。
Thank you very much to Patrick Mascher from the Russian Railway Switzerland. 再次谢谢我们来自于瑞士雷迪亚铁路的 Patrick. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to have the coffee break, and we have some refreshments ready outside. We'll be back by 10:50. Thank you very much. 各位贵宾，接下来我们稍微休息一下哦。那我们场外备有茶点以及饮料，请各位贵宾自行取用。我们等一下10点50分呢，我们再次回到会场。続きまして25分間の休憩にいらせていただきます。再開は10時50分でございます。ありがとうございます。 Okay, everybody, please take your seats. We're going to begin our next talk. Thank you. 各位贵宾，请您就座。我们下一场演讲就要正式开始了，谢谢。All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're going to move on to the third talk in the session. 欢迎各位贵賓繼續回到會場了。接下來呢，是我們場次的第3場的專題演講。それでは、このセッションの基調講演に移りたいと思います。日本大井川鉄道株式会社鳥塚明社長から大井川鉄道の現状と取り組みについてお話しいただきます。鳥塚社長、お願いいたします。接下来我们掌声欢迎日本大井川铁道鸟种亮社长跟我们分享大井川铁道从中所看到的日本地方铁道的韧性。Our next speaker is Toditsuka Akira, President of Oigawa Railway Japan, and he's going to share with us the current state and strategic responses of Oigawa Railway.
Minasamá, konnichiwa.
Good morning. I will be presenting in Japanese, so please bear with me. I am the CEO of Oigawa Railway, President of Oigawa Railway, Akira Torizuka. So do you know this cartoon? This has been running in our railway for years. So we are sister railways with Alishan Forest Railway. And next year will be our 40th anniversary. I love railways. I've taken all the railways in Taiwan. The Zhiqiang train, Juguang train, I've taken them all. And 20 years ago, I visited Alishan. This was me back then. Okay, let me come back to our topic of discussion. Oigawa Railway is in Shizuoka Prefecture. So it's between Tokyo and also Osaka. And it's close to the Shizuoka Prefecture. And close to the Shinkanaya station. And there is the Tokaido cart, and you can also see this is the Oigawa Railway, and you can take it all the way to Kanaya. Kanaya station is the first stop, and then it goes further into the mountains. And there's the Oigawa line and also the Igawa line. And here you see Senju is the main line. And there is also a smaller train that's quite similar to the Alishan Railway. And up until this year, it marks the 100 years. This is also a forestry railway. And in the mountains, there was a dam that was built. And we would transport cement up onto the mountain. This was built 100 years ago, but now it's mostly automated or mostly transported by vehicles. And the people no longer take the train anymore. Even lumber is transported with trucks. And now the dam has been built as well, so it seems like the original purpose of the railway has been lost. And it seems like the intention for building this railway 100 years ago the goal has already been achieved. But today we can change the way that we use the railway. And this is something for people to think about. And I believe this is also the case around the world. There are many tourism railways or tourism cars. About 10 years ago, we introduced Thomas and Friends trains. This is a coal-run train. So this is called All Friends in Oigawa. Different types of trains. And all the carts you see in the videos, you can see with our railway. And so we operate, we're sustained by tourism. Even if it's rainy, we still get visitors. This is something we're very grateful for. And to the left, you see, oh, this is me actually in the yellow vest. I also have a role to play. Aside from Thomas and Friends, we also have regular SL carts that are running. This is also quite popular. We have different types of SL carts. And this is the main line. If you go up the mountain, it's just like Alishan Forest Railway. We have smaller carts. This is our trolley train. So a part of this is the up-style system. This is a very steep hill. And so the system was used because of the steep landscape. And the system is often seen in Switzerland or Austria, but actually in Japan, we are the only ones using that system. So this is high up the mountains, just like Alishan. Have you seen this photo before? This is a railway station. One stop is here, over here. Why is there a station here? Because when the dam was being built, a lot of people living in surrounding areas. Had to be relocated. And there are 3 houses located here. So for serving these 3 households, we built the station. So the railway was built, the station was built, and the dam was built. However, the residents, they moved away. So there were no residents in the surrounding area. So now it is used for tourism. And we get many Taiwanese visitors as well. We do have tourist trains running. So this is, these are the highlights of Oigawa and also Naigawa lines. And in September of 2022, there was a disaster that happened. And we saw landslide or collapse. And it's hard to remove the rocks. So this is in between these 2 stops. We see the line cut off. And there is the Kawaneo Hot Springs. And we can operate towards Kanawaya. However, this part here is not serviceable. So we see that here on top of the Okuoi lake, people cannot access the lake anymore. And it has been 3 years. Let me also introduce you to the Japanese railways. There's JR. It was nationalized, but then it became privatized. It was state-owned before, and now it's privatized. There are also other private railway companies. Do you know these other private train companies? Including Cebu, Tobu, Kisai, and Tokyu. And there's public transformation, for example, Toei Subway or Sapporo Subway. There is also a third sector train company. So for state-owned railways, for it to become privatized, some of them may be suffering from deficits. So far I've worked in 3 different companies, including Izumi, and also Echiko Tomike Getsudo. And then the third sector train company. So these companies are run by the local government and local residents. And the blue and also the purple are these type of companies. However, the company I work for right now is completely privatized. The Oigawa Railway Company is privatized. So we do not get government subsidy. And then there was a natural disaster. So half of the tracks are not usable. So that also impacts our revenue. Our revenue is cut by 50%. However, we do have personnel expenses. We need to pay for equipment, and also we need to make investments. These kind of investments are not cut by 50%. However, we're not able to get any sort of government subsidy or funding. That is what private companies are all about. But for JR or the Shinkansen, they have great revenue and the government also pays. However, for privatized railway companies, none. So what do we do? How can we sustain operations? So you can see we have very old carts. This was from before the war, probably around 1940s. So the car is from 1940. This was what it looks like inside. Mostly made of wood. Because steam engines are used to run these carts. So this was what we depended on back then. And because we're not able to operate fully, so our revenue is cut by half.
見てて
So if you were in my position, what would you do? If you would look at these train carriages, you look at all the great assets you have. We didn't have a large budget to revitalize the entire line. So what do? What if we add a table right here? And maybe with them, we will be able to serve food on the train to draw in more visitors, since a portion of the railway still remains to be out of service due to the landslide. So we thought we would make these adaptations by adding in these dining tables to combine with the famous train bento, train meal boxes, and launch this new service, Meals on Train. And we all understand that this Shizuoka prefecture that we are located in is very famous for its green tea, matcha, as well as seafood, fish, fresh vegetables, and fruit. In addition, Shizuoka Prefecture is very well known for exporting its agricultural produce and aquatic products to all over Japan. So we thought we would use the locally sourced, seasonally grown, fresh ingredients to create a meal box train bento experience for the visitors. Like I said, only half of the railway line is in full operation. So the only thing that we could do is to increase the ticket prices by adding these additional services. So we came up with the idea of making the price range between 16,000 to 20,000 NT, and this includes the train tickets, a train ride, and a nice meal box. Normally, people pay 2,000 yen or 1,000 yen to 2,000 yen for a train ticket. But with the meal services, we're able to increase the price. Some people might not like this nostalgic feeling. Some people think the train is a little bit dated, so they don't see the beauty of it. So the next step is for us to increase the awareness and to have better marketing campaigns. I don't know if you're able to open the train windows when you ride on the train in your country. I know in Taiwan, only that certain trains between Pingdong and Fangliao in the southern part, eastern part of Taiwan have windows that passengers could actually open. So we thought maybe we were creating a nostalgic experience. You know how in the olden days, when you stop at the train station, all those paddlers, the street vendors will walk up to the train and hand you the bento box. For a few dollars. So we thought we would recreate that service for people who are looking for a nostalgic experience, the Showa period experience that their ancestors or grandparents used to have 50, 60 years ago. But what about the young people who are not familiar with the Showa period? The 70s and 60s may seem a little bit distant for the younger visitors. For us, we think it's very nostalgic. It reminds us of the good old days. But for the young travelers, they have no prior experience. But it turned out to be a great success. People came in droves. Look at all these kindergarten kids enjoying a train ride. These children in blue caps have come here to look at the SL steam engine. We know that for some reason, young children are very attracted to mechanisms like this. We know that children, when they go out to travel, they have to go places where their parents go. So a lot of these children come with their parents. So we thought it would be a great idea to advertise to their parents. And we even have school teachers and principals choosing to bring the kids here because they themselves are interested. So it is a good way for us to reach out to the younger generation. And once they come, they through this hands-on immersive experience, they become seeds are sowed in their hearts. They later become fans. We even have junior high school students coming for a school outing, and we also show them. See, they're posing right next to this electrified train engine that was built in 1925. So they learn about the electrification of the train, the machinery, the mechanisms of the train, and really revitalizing the local economy. Now, you see I'm posing with this neighborhood village head. Do you know what a village head does? The village head is really, normally in Japan, it's a powerful person representing the local community. He often runs a profitable local business. So it's important to team up with him. So this village head came to me and proposed an idea of maybe us advertising our Thomas train engine themed trains in his village. So he proposed the idea of creating this expo to combine the introduction to our trains, to the local produce, the matcha. There's different booths showcasing different products and services. And for this very specific brochure, like I said, this train actually makes a stop at the tip of the peninsula. And many people actually have seen this photo, but they have never visited it, especially for those living in big cities. They may actually be interested, and they're usually pretty surprised when they find out exactly where this railway is in Shizuoka Prefecture. And by passing out these brochures, we were able to bring in visitors. And once we become more and more popular, more and more villages have teamed up with us. Now, I want to talk about the nighttime train ride with the steam engine. This one was taken in the middle of the night in winter, so you could see the steam rising to the sky from the locomotive. So it also, a lot of passengers say that it feels like heat, like the train carriages are actually heated. The steam would then float through the carriages, and which is a very different experience than electrified train engine. The steam engine runs on burning coal, so it creates a very nostalgic feeling, but this may not be very valuable for people living in the tropics. However, for Japan, people truly appreciate it, especially when they ride the train in winter. And in Japan, there are many train companies run overnight trains. It is true that these overnight trains are not uncommon, but an overnight trains specifically designed for visitors with a steam engine is truly one of its kind. Like I said, now a portion of the railway is not serviceable. So now this specific experience is only 2 kilometers long, regrettably. So we thought maybe we would repeat it back and forth 3 times. So at the end of the night, after these 3 trips, the night is over. So how much is it? 10,000 yen. 10,000 Japanese yen. A lot of people criticize us. With this budget, people would rather stay in a hotel room. But look at how many visitors that we get. The train seats, the train ride itself is 4 hours. The train ride itself is 4 hours. And the chairs are not exactly comfortable. Quite stiff, I would like to admit. The price point is set at 18,000 Japanese yen, more than a night at the hotel, which is usually 10,000 Japanese yen. But the tickets were selling like hotcakes. There's 5 carriages, and each night, if you do the math, 10,000 yen times 100 visitors. That's very remarkable revenues. So people ask, then why do people come? Why do people enjoy this experience? It's because these are railway fans. It's a steam locomotive. The steam, the nostalgic feeling, the one of its kind immersive experience. I think really the steam engine is the biggest draw here. And we're glad that we came up with this new program. So for a lot of people, they ask why people are drawn to the railway. The railway is the backbone of public transport. It is an important element of the society's infrastructure. And the infrastructure, as I define it, is there to serve the people, is there to create income, revenues for people. Whether it's running water, whether it's electricity, roads, bridges, or airports, infrastructure should serve members of the community. And that's the approach that I take when I formulate plans for the railways. So whenever I formulate plans, I often look at the benefits as compared to its cost. Let's say you run a program, the cost is 100 yen, and the benefits is also 50 yen, then you're running a deficit. It's simple math. For me, that simply will not work. Financially, it makes no sense. So B divided by C is basically the problem facing a lot of locally and privately run railways. If you look at the railways operation and their balance sheet in remote areas, including some of the branch lines run by the JR big company, they are having a deficit. However, for large companies like JR, they make it work because they can balance out once they're not making a profit and once they are. So a lot of these locally and privately run railways are on the verge of giving up, to be honest, because of their running a deficit. Now, I would like to show you this slide. On top, we have the cost benefit, cost effectiveness, but at the bottom, we have the social benefits. And again, then the question comes down to how to balance the two. In Japan, 20 years ago, Japan's state-owned railway system became privatized. And the private company's number one priority is to look at the cost effectiveness of the railways. They did not really give much thought to social benefits. They were mostly concerned with whether they're able to turn a profit by running the railway network. However, the social benefits, on the other hand, are more difficult to evaluate and examine. And I think when it comes to sometimes when you talk about the train operation, it just boils down to discussion of numbers, discussion balance sheet. But is that all? Look at the smiling faces of the children. They've come with their parents or even with their grandparents to see the Thomas tank engine in action. I often tell my staff that each and every visitor here on this platform is an esteemed customer. They did not make a long way. They did not travel a long distance to here to look at the town. To be honest, they are here for the train engine. So the train as an infrastructure is also an important element of the local economic revitalization and long-term development. So to be honest, the railway has become a lifeline for the vitality of the local economic activities, although now we may be running a deficit, but the fringe benefits, the ripple effects we are creating are bringing so many tourists to the local communities and everybody gets to benefit. Now we are running different programs that are very innovative and creative. Meals on train, nighttime ride with the steam engine, nostalgic immersive experiences. Although we are not actually turning a profit just yet, the visitors come all the way to a remote town and it creates ripple effects. Japan has faced a severe challenge of the declining birth rate. All the towns are becoming less populated and houses are becoming abandoned. So by coming up with these economic activities, we're able to bring in crowds. We're able to revitalize and breathe new air, fresh air into the local society. And I think the Swiss example serves as a great reference for all of us. The Swiss system is very mature, is highly developed. However, for a small town like this, like the Oigawa Railway, we are still working hard to find new path forward to pass down to our future generation a more sustainable railway. Thank you.
For his Wonderful sharing. Thank you so much. 非常谢谢日本大井川铁道鸟种亮社长非常精彩的分享哦。及川テスト戸塚明社長でございました。ありがとうございました。Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, and having heard the 3 talks, next we're going to have our panel speaker to respond to what he heard this morning. 那接下来呢，我们要有请我们的语坛贵宾哦，先到台上来回应一下。那回应完之后，我们再请主持人以及所有的讲师回到舞台上，看大家有什么样的问题。我们有请亚太遗产铁道组织谢明勋前副主席到台上来。Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome 明勋协 former Vice President of Asia Pacific Heritage and Tourist Rail Organization to the stage.
Ladies
and gentlemen, the Asia Pacific Heritage Railway Organization is an NGO that was founded about 10 years ago. And we have members from Jordan, India, Japan, Korea, and also Indonesia, Malaysia, and Australia. And we've been paying attention to many railways, and actually the president of Oigawa Railway is quite well known, and you can actually have a photo with him if you like. And actually Oigawa Railway is also a heritage railway. And it's difficult, challenging to operate heritage railways, and each country has its own challenges. And Taiwan, in operating heritage railways, we do get quite sufficient funding from the government. But for cases like Japan or Malaysia, they have financial issues. So they need to, in order to survive, be inspired by many different ideas. For example, Thomas and Friends, it's a brilliant idea by Oigawa Railway. And I think for some hardcore fundamentalists that are railway fans, they would feel like, oh, how could you change the locomotive to Thomas and Friends? But actually, if you look at it from another perspective, in order to be able to sustain, it is necessary to make these changes. And we see that Michael Riley is also here with us, and he used to be a diplomat to Taiwan. And actually, in the upper house in the UK, they did a study on the heritage railways around the UK. So when visitors, they take the heritage railways, by spending £1 for a ticket, it can generate around £8 of economic value for the local community. This was a survey done in 2010 in the UK. And we can see that heritage railways are not unchanged. Just like Patrick said, it is not a museum. Railways need to operate to be able to be valuable. And that is quite clear in the heritage charter. So for heritage railways, it should not be confined or restricted by its role as a heritage railway, as a museum. Because if a railway cannot operate, it is not able to contribute to the society. It becomes a kind of landmark or infrastructure, just like the viaducts in Rome. And it is just a monument. However, heritage railways do not operate this way. So when we talk about the sustainability of heritage railways, this is something we need to think about. How do we have railways sustain and sustainably develop? And for the Alishan Forest Railway, it is a wonderful example. The Rishan Railway, the Oigawa Railway, and the Alishan Railway, and also the Mountain Railway in India. Actually, these were railways built in the 1900s or 1910, so about around that time. And they were designated to be World Heritage around the year 2000 or 2010. So it was 100 years down the road that they were seen as World Heritage. And around 2010, the global community, when looking at World Heritage railways, they had different ideas. We also heard from the Asia Pacific Heritage Railway Organization, and they tried to bring together the operators of these railways to speak about how these railways can be operated. And I actually started out as a railway engineer. So for us, be it the zigzag railway or a looped railway, all of them are there to overcome the difficulties brought about by the landscape. And so those are the things that engineers need to work on, so that there's no problem there. However, at the same time, we're seeing that these railways are also trying to deal with climate change or the pandemic, or for the Darjeeling Railway in India, they also have to deal with politics. And we saw the Oikawa Railway, it faces its challenges. How do we sustain the resilience of railways is very important. For the Alishan Forest Railway, it's even done more. For the Heritage Railway, they did a lot of innovation, a lot of innovative work. This is something for us to think about, and I think I will stop here. Thank you. Thank you once again to the Deputy Vice Chair. We will now stay on stage for the Q&A session.
的主持人，我们的张副署长，我们请到台上来就座。Would like to welcome our moderator and all the speakers in the session. 也要邀请王昭宝处长，处长有请。And also Mr. Patrick Meisher, would you please join us once again on the stage? And we'd also like to welcome Mr. 鳥塚明社長、どうぞ壇上お上がりください。Please take your seats. 那我们等一下呢，就欢迎各位贵宾都可以提问哦。那用中文、英文或日文提问都可以哦。And next, feel free to raise questions either in Chinese, English, or Japanese. 好，那接下来把时间交给主持人张副署长。
好，我们首先谢谢。
Thank you to all three speakers. By sharing case studies, different case studies, we see how heritage railways are operating. And just as we've just heard, there's different political climate in each country, and people have different levels of support for heritage railways. Yet the operators are all working hard to manage the railway and also the cultural assets so that they can be self-sustained and also be sustainable. And each railway has its own challenges. And so how do we learn from each other to become more diverse and to preserve the cultural assets better, at least to lower the deficit is also very important. So we will now open the floor for questions. So please. Yes, the lady in the center, please identify your name and affiliation and let us know who you'd like to address the question to. Hi, I'm from Tainan City Government. We've heard a lot about railways and also preserving cultural assets. And we heard from three speakers from Alishan, Switzerland, and Japan. So each country has its own laws and regulations related to cultural assets. And there are central agencies that are responsible. So when you are performing like these commercial actions, do you think they are a help or a hindrance? Could you please share the regulations related to the preservation of cultural assets? Are they a help or a hindrance to how you operate?
I think thank you very much for your question, first of all. I think I can tell maybe in this specific case of this Landwasser world that I did mention before, I think it depends a little bit on the people. So, for example, I mentioned that next to this Landwasser viaduct, this big bridge, there is this little town called Filisur. And I think one key element to get the local governments on board is to include them into the projects very early on. So this is what we did when we created this Landwasser World project. From the very beginning, they were on board. The local communities were on board. And then I think it is also a lot about to listen to their ideas, listen to their fears, and find compromise. So, for example, I would like to give one specific example. This Landwasser World project, this Filisur town is really very small. And then one of the topics was, where do the buses park? The buses of all the guests that we intend to attract. What happens if too many people come, if too many tourist groups visit that site? So in the very end, we did compromise. We did build a little bus parking spot, but a little bit outside of the city. But we really created the transport concept that actually should encourage people to arrive with the train. So I think this is really very important. Have the local communities, the governments very early on board, and discuss with them possible solutions.
Anyone else? Mr. Wang? The Alishan railway is designated as an important cultural asset by the country, and I feel like it is of help. Because for the Alishan railway, in the restoration process, we also consult the city government or the Ministry of Culture. So we are communicating very closely. And so these cultural preservation agencies, they're not there to stop the Alishan Railway from development. Rather, in the process of development and innovation, we need to preserve or to be careful that it is a 100-year-old railway and there are certain elements that cannot be ignored. So in the process of communication, it's always been quite smooth. There were no cases that we wanted to do this, but they were not supportive. We communicated quite positively, and these cultural preservation agencies, they also provided us with a lot of advice, and it's quite smooth so far. Yes, and I'm wondering if Mr. Akira Torizuka would like to respond.
はい、今のご質問は、国や、
I believe the question was government legal framework or regulations, whether they help with the operation of the heritage railway or whether they are actually obstacles or hindrance. So to answer this question from a Japanese perspective. There is actually no law designating or that encourages designating railways into heritage railways. And the idea has always been to create a barrier-free, wheelchair-accessible railway stations, putting in elevators, escalators, and also modernizing the stations to make it more convenient. So for the old heritage railways, there hasn't been a very encouraging atmosphere to preserve those. And a lot of people talk about at least we have to have bathrooms on the train. And for those using a wheelchair, they also need to use the bathrooms on the train as well. So now there is actually laws and regulations stipulating that wheelchair accessible bathrooms must be put in, so that's difficult. So when it comes to railway heritage, I would say that the Cultural Heritage Preservation Act of Japan is not very friendly to heritage railways. I think each country has different sets of challenges. In Japan, certain railways are in fact very, very well preserved, but Taiwan is a very special case. Taiwan, I think in 1995, the first case of railway preservation appeared. It's the train turnaround garage, and then 5 classic railway stations or depots and have been designated. Now the Zhoushan line, now the Taipei train repair garage and depot have been designated and have been given budgets to preserve them as railway heritage. And I think we need to thank the government and we need to give credit to the congressmen. They see value in preserving these heritage sites. They see the economic benefits that could be generated by preserving these heritage sites. For example, the Kaohsiung railway station relocation project is a good example. The railway was, the station was eventually preserved. This is not common in other countries, to be exact. And I think there also has been a lot of narratives and a lot of research studies proving the economic benefits of preservation. Now the topic is actually how to preserve them sustainably in the face of climate change. And I think the legal status given to these heritage sites is very important too. Of course, there's need to make adaptation, and then you need to come up with an operation plan and to find a balance to preserve the original carriages. So exceptions can be made. So you need to come up with a plan and state your plan to the competent authorities how to strike a balance between wheelchair accessibility and maintaining the original interior of the carriages. And there's also striking a balance of steam engine and reducing footprint, which is required by the government. You all need to state these elements in the management plan. Are there any other questions? Please go ahead. Thank you so much. I have a question for Mr. Wang. Now, this forum is attended by the minister himself, the director general himself, ICOMOS president herself, and Alishan Railway Heritage Site is aiming to be inscribed or is aiming to be recognized as a World Heritage Site, looking into the future in terms of management and operation. What changes or adaptation do you need to have in order to align yourself with international standards or World Heritage Sites standard. We know that there are new projects. We know new hotels are being built along the railway. We know that there is going to be a station renovation project. But now, with the frequency of typhoon rising, and with the city becoming more modernized, and the railway tracks in the city are being elevated to make ways for the roads. So there's a lot of uncertainties out there when people are focusing on tourism, when people are focusing on making it convenient, maybe modernizing some portions. How do you strike that balance while being able to meet World Heritage criteria and standards?
全线通车，其实全线通车，我们现在最大的一个问题是我们，
Hold on a second, we're experiencing technical difficulties.
所以我刚刚最后一张也秀出我们生理号这样的一个列车，那
Now, in order to accommodate more visitors, you will need to upgrade just the content, the software, along with the infrastructure or the hardware. Before the entire line was restored, we didn't need so many staff members. Now, the entire line is repaired. We need to have more trained engineers, trained conductors. It takes 2 years to train a trained engineer. So we're lagging behind. We're still trying to keep up. So now the current plan is that in the face of increasing visitors, and we continue to market to the outside world, we're a great railway, in a great heritage cultural landscape. But people keep criticizing us because they cannot get the tickets, or those international tourists find it very difficult to buy tickets using our website. So we accept this criticism humbly. And also, we are also connecting with the local timber yard, which is a heritage site. Now, with the trains, the portion in the city indeed is being elevated to make way for roads. But with that, we're able to connect with the main railway, so the visitors from the north could travel on the railway all the way conveniently to the Alishan area. So the Mayor Huang of Tainan City thinks very highly of our project. So by doing this, by modernizing the portion within the city, you're making it more convenient, more modern. It is entry point for most visitors. There's the touristy area, the creative cultural park, the timber yard, which is a historic site that people like to visit. And these are being managed by private companies professionally. And with that being developed, and with our entire railway line being back in service, everything is being mobilized in an integrated way. We are going to have the new carriages. So the new carriages are going to be used in the main line, and the old carriages are going to be used in the shorter interval lines. Well, that means that along the line we have 20 different stations. Normally, when the trains just pass through, most trains pass through these stations without stopping. But now we have a new plan. We have the main line with more carriages carrying more visitors, but we have the smaller, older carriages that would enable the visitors to stop at the smaller stations, bringing economic activities to the local communities. We see the Swiss example, the train coming back and forth with an interval of 3 minutes, so that can be done. So we're trying to do that as well. So we're coming up with all these new strategies. I said that the human aspect, the talent that would have to be trained in order to keep up with the increase in visitor number. I would like to comment as well. I worked as a civil servant in the Forestry Bureau Jiayi branch for 6 years. I would like to briefly mention that the railway that extends into the city, that portion is currently being revitalized actively. Within the giant city itself, there's the timber yard, there's the processing plants. All of these historic sites are being preserved under the guidance of the city municipal government, under the guidance of the railway administration and my also forestry administration. So we have made extensive plans, and we have had partnerships and discussions as to how we can tie all the elements together. Now, with the railways in the city being elevated, we're making way for roads, not just roads, but for bike path. So the space taken up by the railway is now freed up. We could create more tourist attractions. So we could really use this as a good opportunity to enhance the city landscape, creating more space, putting in more bike and pedestrian friendly spaces. And we're very honored that we are working closely with the Cultural Heritage Preservation Bureau and the city government to implement these plans as we speak. Now, we will take the next question. Due to time constraints, this will be the last question. Hi, I'm from Kaohsiung. I have a question for our Japanese speaker and our speaker, Mr. Meisher from Switzerland. You talked about breaking the Guinness World Record. I think it's very impressive, and it's a very famous case. I really appreciate that you shared that with us. You talked about this really good idea, make good things happen. I like that slogan as well. So whether it's a line visor, shuttle train, 30 times back and forth, only a 3-minute ride, I think it's great. It could be done in Chiayi County as well. For us, it's not really about the capacity. And I think that maybe the staff would be really busy, right? Maybe they won't be so happy. I don't know. Maybe people at the station would need to make changes. So how did you convince everyone? This question goes to our Swiss speaker. How did you make good things happen? How did you convince everyone to come on board with that shuttle idea? And now another question is that you have the choo-choo train, and you also put in the hiking trails. So who takes care, who maintains these trails? The local government, or is it the train company who pays for the maintenance and upkeep? Now, the next question is for the Japanese speaker. You talked about electrified locomotive or the steam locomotive. They are very old, over maybe 100 years old. So how do you have the right, how do you train the engineers with the right skills to maintain the steam engine and the heritage locomotives? Now, maybe we'll ask the Japanese speaker to speak first. Yeah. 抱歉，现在听不到声音，请各位贵宾，请各位观众稍待。现在口译员听不到现场的声音，请您稍待。
Well, I cannot take the credit by myself. It was our director which really pushed this project forwards. And actually it was in this
抱歉，我们现在听不到声音。
was a lucky coincidence.
抱歉，现在口译员听不到声音啊，请大家稍待一下。抱歉，现在口译员听不到现场的声音，请大家稍待。
To think about new innovative projects, and that was the time our director came up with that idea. And he once told me about 2 hours about it. He told me how in the beginning the challenges were not accepted well by many people. So many people said, this cannot be done. Just to save 2 examples, for example, because it was such a big long train, and the weight of the train was really big. When the train brakes, all the energy from the braking went up into the wires. So it was also, that was really a big challenge, that that everything explodes. Or for example, because the train was so long, the train, some parts were in a tunnel, and it was difficult to come up with a communication system where in the tunnel, if something happens, how could they call and inform the train staff what's happening? So there were many, many, many challenges. But I would really just say that the simple answer was just accepting the challenges and finding solutions. It was really just what's the word in English? The persistence of our CEO to do that way. And coming to the Landwasser World project, it is actually a little bit a similar thing. Maybe here I would also like to say that many people see the opportunity and how it could benefit to do these projects. And here I just come back again to my former point that I think it's important to include everyone involved very, very early in the project. Let them help to build these projects, and at the end of the day, it's also going to benefit the project itself. Regarding maybe just one challenge we had, for example, with the viaduct shuttle, as you said, it's running the whole day. We also had to overcome many obstacles, like we had a lack of train drivers. So actually this project was already should have started a year ago. Not enough train drivers. So we launched an initiative lending train drivers from other companies, recruiting new train drivers, educating them to be train drivers, and so on. And then, of course, there is also the point, we also have a lot of volunteer work done also, especially in these local villages. There are many people who, there's not much industry in these little local mountain towns, so they see tourism as a good chance, and we also we do involve them, and especially if it comes to like building the hiking trails, remaining the hiking trails, many volunteers help with that. I hope that answered the question more or less.
はい、大井川鉄道の場合はですね、職員の危機感というのがあります。で、
So when it comes to the Oigawa Railway, our practitioners are quite concerned in the face of these issues, and we do have a union for our workers. And they feel like if they don't do their jobs well, the company will be out of business. So our workers, they actually working in the evening, it's not a problem for them. And actually, they also get paid overtime. And some people feel like, okay, this is what I would like to do. So working in the evenings is not something that is a problem. And also because of our steam locomotives, that is a very appealing factor. However, not many people are able to work on the locomotives. So we also play the role of education, and there are young people that just come out of school, and when they want to come involved, they would join our business. And starting from 50 years ago, the Oigawa Railway became a tourism railway. And a lot of people would like to join. And they would know that they are in the tourism business. So I would like to challenge myself. So those that love a challenge, they would want to join us to learn new skills and technologies. So I would say that they're doing the work that they want to do. So for us as a local railway, we do need our practitioners to identify with our company to be able to sustain. Thank you for your time. In the interest of time, we will have to wrap up here. So please, once again, give a warm round of applause to all of our speakers. Thank you. I'd like to ask the panel to have a photograph together.
Please stand up and let's have a photo together. Thank you so much. 我们往前一步好吗？ Take one step forward. Thank you very much. 那我们合照完之后呢，要请副署长 Patrick 以及鸟种社长在台上留步哦。我们还有最后的这个 final panel。那请这个处长以及副主席呢，拍完照之后，要请您先回座。After the photo, we'd like to have the Deputy Director General Zhang, Patrick, and Toritsuka to remain on the stage. 好，我们再给我们台上的贵宾一个掌声好吗 ？Once again, a big round of applause. 好，我们请处长跟副主席先回座。那我们是不是引導一下我們的副署長跟台上的貴賓就座好嗎？また、閉会パネルがありますので、鳥塚社長も、ステージに残してください。ありがとうございます。All right, and now we are moving on to the final concluding session for 2025 International Forum on the Taiwan Cultural Heritage. And for that, we'd like to welcome our host, ladies and gentlemen, Director General Jimin Chen of Bureau of Cultural Heritage, Ministry of Culture to the stage. 那么有请我们最后的大会主席、主办单位文化部文化资产局的陈继明局长到台上就座，掌声欢迎。And also, we got 3 more international experts. We'd also like to welcome them to the stage. Ms. Teresa Patricio, President of ICOMOS, 有请国际文化纪念物与历史场所委员会的主席到台上来，掌声欢迎。And Professor Steve Brown, University of Canberra, Australia, please also join us on the stage. 澳洲坎培拉大学教授，掌声欢迎。And Secretary General of Welshpool and Lanfair Light Railway UK, Mr. Michael Riley. 也要掌声欢迎英国威尔普兰菲尔铁路秘书长 Michael Riley 到台上来，有请。好，接下来把时间我们交给局长 ，and over to Director General Chen.
好，我们在场的所有
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the closing ceremony of our conference. A good chef is the happiest when he sees his guests finish all the food. And for us, when we organize international forums, the happiest place or hour is to see all the participants stay all the way. And actually yesterday we had a full house. And at the closing today, we still see a huge room of participants. And I'm sure there are still many more participants joining us online. So I would like to say that this forum has been a success. And in the past 2 days, it's been a pleasure. First of all, I'd like to thank all the guests that have traveled afar to join us. On behalf of the organizers, a huge thank you. And I know for Teresa, Miss Teresa also went to bed quite late, just like our colleagues, probably after 2. And I'd like to thank our team members. And I think many of you are still jet lagged. And I'd like to thank the experts and scholars from home, especially when we talk about World Heritage and also heritage railways, as well as cultural landscapes. We have gathered all the experts and scholars from Taiwan. If you look at the theme of our conference, we're talking about innovation and resilience. And we know that These are key words that have been repeated again and again. So going forward in terms of preserving cultural heritage, this is something we need to internalize to be flexible and also resilient. And we heard from the minister and also experts yesterday talk about climate change again and again. So we need to be flexible and innovative in the face of these challenges, and also to be determined to safeguard cultural heritages. So in the past 2 days, we heard 3 different themes. We heard from President Patricia Teresa from ICOMOS give us a talk, and she talked about how in the face of different challenges, they've been able to pursue sustainability. And we also heard from Professor Steve Brown about how Australia applied for World Heritage status and how this was a collaborative action between the central government and local government. And also when it comes to management, it needs to be long-term and also comprehensive. We also heard from scholars and experts from Taiwan, as well as those in the private sector, share wonderful case studies about the Alishan railway carts and also new marketing strategies. And through in-depth travel, how do we transfer the tribal assets into something that can be sustained in the long term economically? So that was a way for local stories to be seen in the world. And I'm sure you were quite touched by those talks. And this morning in the 2 sessions, we heard from the Alishan Forest Railway Management Office. We also heard from Mr. Patrick Meishier about the Alishan Railway in Switzerland. And just now we heard from Mr. Akira Torizuka about the Oigawa Railway. So it was like a conversation between the 3 railways and how heritage railways can deal with the changes in the environment, especially for the Alishan Railway in Switzerland. It is a World Heritage already. However, through sustainable management and also rejuvenation, it's able to sustain even more. So this is something that we definitely need to learn from. And I believe the closing is not the end, but a beginning. The beginning for us to build a interdisciplinary platform for collaboration between the academia and also the industry and also local communities. And I hope that we can connect better to bring more to the cultural heritage in Taiwan. And tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, we will take our guests to Alishan for them to visit the important cultural landscape designated by our Cultural Preservation Act. This is the only one so far, and there will be another one to come. But we are looking forward to taking you to visit our important cultural landscape. And we hope that through the visit tomorrow, we will be able to get your feedback on how we can perhaps become World Heritage, even though we cannot apply. However, we want to be fully prepared. And President Patricia also said, I'm not sure if I'm putting it accurately. I think she said that in the world, about 1% of the heritages are listed as World Heritage around the world. So is this something that we really want to pursue? Or is it that we want to focus on preserving the cultural asset and also rejuvenating it and also promoting its spirit? That may be something even more important. And when it comes to World Heritage, there are elected officials, scholars and experts that want to push for World Heritage status. However, taken the circumstances that Taiwan is under, it is quite unlikely for us to do that. So we need to be more pragmatic to take our important culture and landscape and also to promote it to the world so that people can get a better understanding of the cultural values in Taiwan. And I think that was one of my takeaways with in my dialogue with Ms. Patricia. And my English is not that good. However, through the interpretation by my colleagues, I was able to communicate. And we do have a closed door meeting today. And I will be asking similar questions. And I hope that it can be answered by the participants, and the outcome of our closed door meeting will serve as important reference for future policies. So please be accurate when you translate that. So actually what we came up with yesterday was very, very important. And all of you are experts in World Heritage, in cultural assets, and also in heritage railways. And in the parliament, this is something that is brought up again and again. However, we are not qualified to apply, yet we face the pressure of being demanded to apply for that status. However, I think Ms. Patricio actually put it very well yesterday. It was a kind of an alarm bell for us, I would say. So a moment of enlightenment yesterday for us. And there is still a little bit of time. We still have, how much time do we have? 22 more minutes. So 2 minutes actually. So we have our colleagues here and also guests that have traveled afar. So I don't think I will repeat what was already said. And President Patricio and also Dr. Brown, do you have any feedback or input or suggestions for us? Perhaps we can ask President Patricio to maybe say a few words.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. You told already very well what you expressed very well what I told you yesterday. But, well, first of all, of course, allow me to thank you once more, the fantastic way you are receiving us. Thank you very much for your team, the way they are treating us and helping us here. It's really fantastic. Now, I think what happened here yesterday and today is the proof that Taiwan is ready to be on the map of conservation, heritage conservation in the world. You are having experts, you have heritage, you have knowledge, you have the right to tell to everybody that you want to preserve your heritage for future, for your children. This is the important thing. And for me, this is our fundamental mission of all of us. We are experts in conservation of heritage because we want to preserve what we receive from our grandparents and we want to preserve for the future. And so for me, this is my message to all of us. If you do this in a conscious way, professional way, scientific way, respectful way, for our elders, for what we receive from them, it's the best present we can give to your children, to your country, and to the world.
谢谢我们那个主席啊，给我们的一些提。
Thank you, Patricio, for your words of encouragement. Mr. Brown?
Thank you. It's very hard to follow up from what Teresa has said because she's put it so eloquently, and I want to echo, first of all, my sincere thanks to the Bureau of Cultural Heritage, Director General Chen, for your very generous hosting of this event. I also want to thank the audience for being so engaged, echoing again Director General Chen's words of having people stay here. There's little I feel I can add other than it's been a fantastic learning experience for me. Being here. And the one thing I would add is that not being particularly a railway person, but the idea of the cooperation across many countries with an interest in railways and particular kinds of railways has been really very inspiring to me. So I would say heritage is also about global cooperation and goodwill and learning and sharing, and it's been an absolute pleasure to see that happening with the examples of the railways, and I'm sure it happens in many other ways. So, I would just say that cooperation is essential, not only for heritage, but for the way we understand each other, and difficult as it is, for a peaceful future for the world. And I mean difficult right now. So thank you very much for everything, and it's been a great pleasure.
好，谢谢 Steve Brown 的这个刚才的这个也很谢谢。
Thank you, Steve, for sharing your words of encouragement and your valuable insights. I was told that, regrettably, the time is up. I believe it's time for us to conclude the final closing remarks and panel discussion. We still have time for more exchanges in the afternoon, and the Forestry Administration will also be sharing a special presentation in the closed-door meeting in the afternoon. And this forum has been organized for 4 consecutive years with larger and larger audience, with us moving to larger and larger venue each year. I would like to thank you for your enthusiastic participation and active input, and we hope to see you again next year. Now let's take a few group photos.
照一下，那我们现场的观众也可以稍微留步一下。我们先请台上的贵宾合照，合照完之后，我们请所有参加我们今年论坛的贵宾到前面来一起大合照，好吗？我们先请台上的贵宾起身一起合照，好吗 ？Yeah, let's do a photo first of the final panel here, okay? And then we're going to invite everybody joining us for the forum. Stand up, please, and take one step forward. Thank you. To join our distinguished guests in the front for a big group photo. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, 2025 International Forum on Taiwan Cultural Heritage has come to an end. We thank you very much to all the speakers for their wonderful sharing and presentations. And of course, we thank all the audiences for their engagement and participation. Okay, would you please remain on the stage? All right, not yet. We'll先拍好不好 ？Okay. All right. Okay, everybody's invited. Please come to the front or come to the stage. 好，接下来我们请全场的贵宾，我们到前面来，到台上或者是到我们的台前都 OK， 没关系哦。没错，我们每一年的台湾文化遗产国际论坛呢，能够顺利举办，都要非常谢谢有这么多国内外的贵宾、国内外的专家、学者、伙伴、好朋友们一同参与，才有可能哦。Okay, everybody's invited. Please join us in the front for the final group photo and to mark an end to 2025 International Forum on Taiwan Cultural Heritage. 台上或者是站在台前都 OK 哦。可能要的话，两边可能会进不去哦，所以我们可以往前，在前面不介意的话，可以蹲下来或者是坐着都 OK 哦。好，摄影师帮我们看一下左右两边进不进得去，不然就要请左右两边一些朋友们到前面来坐着哦。那也提醒大家，离场的时候要归还口译设备哦 ，and don't forget to return your headsets back to the front desk. Thank you very much. Okay, everybody, please look at the cameras in front of you. 好，布条可以出 ，and also the banner. All right, 2025 International Forum on Taiwan Cultural Heritage has come to a wonderful end. Okay, you know what we're going to do next? The video, yeah. And 我们摄影师呢想请大家一起念我们这一次的 slogan 好吗 ？OK， 念完之后呢再比个赞好不好 ？Yeah. For our foreign guests, if you don't mind, I'm going to have everybody here to say out loud the slogan for this year's International Forum in Chinese, okay? Yeah, I'm sorry about that. It will be 先练习一下，灵动创新，坚韧前行。灵动创新，坚韧前行。我们等一下3、2、1之后呢，我们一起说这8个字，然后比个赞，好不好 ？OK, by the count of 3, you are going to say 灵动创新，坚韧前行。OK, OK, you ready? 3, 2, 1. 灵动创新，坚韧前行，赞。All right, that's it. Thank you once again for your participation. 再次谢谢各位朋友们、各位贵宾。那么荧幕上面会秀问卷的 QR code 吗？再请各位现场的朋友们离场之前，请拿出手机呢，帮我们扫描一下 QR code， 填写问卷，留下您的宝贵意见哦。那再次提醒大家，有借口译设备的朋友们，请不要忘记归还喽。